So there's a voice you've been hearing on the Joy Sports Link in the last 3 weeks because we had loads of conversations with him, especially before the final squad of 26 were named. After they were named, we had conversations. And when we had our final trial game as well, we had our conversations. Today, he's here to continue what he started sometime last week here on the show. I'm talking about Nana Agyemang. Nana Agyemang, coach and pundit, joins us here virtually. Also, Christabel Dadzie is a Ghanaian fan, just like you and I. She is a business entrepreneur. She is a startup entrepreneur. And she took time off to be in Qatar. She is pro-Ghana. And, just like everybody else who made their way there to Qatar, wish the Black Stars well and wanted to see us win. I want to see it from their perspective. But, gentlemen, lady, thank you so much for joining us for starting up this conversation. It's good to have you here.
Mike, hold on. Let me come back to you. I'll have to just deal with something.
Very well, Nana. Christabel, good to see you. You're looking beautiful. I love your natural hair.
Thank you. You can't really see my jersey, but I have a jersey on.
Oh, you still have a jersey on?
I'm with you now.
Okay, great, Nana. Great. Let's begin. I mean, let me adhere to the rules of courtesy for boys and girls, and let me begin with you, Christabel.
Sure.
You took a decision to be there in Qatar, a personal decision to be there in Qatar. Why?
So I'm not a football fanatic. I'm a Black Star fanatic. I think those are two different things. And so going to the World Cup has always been on my bucket list. And since, 2012, I've been watching on TV. I was there live. I remember exactly where I was in the famous 2010 saga with Uruguay. And this year, the opportunity came and I just wasn't going to let it go. So it's been an amazing experience. I encourage everybody that loves football to do it. It's way more than just watching games. It's the people you meet, the friendships you build, the pressure that is raised, the craziness, the happiness, the sorrow. I mean, I cannot explain how amazing it's been. And I think for me, it wasn't just going to the World Cup, but being able to go watch the Black Stars in effect. And this new Black Stars, which I think is the conversation we're about to have. Our future is bright. I'm sad about yesterday, but I am so excited because what we saw on that pitch, there's just nothing but going up for us. So it's been an amazing experience and I look forward to discussing further.
Christabel Dadzie, she's actually been here on the Joy Sports Link before. Interestingly, the last time she was here, it was the pair of herself and Nana Agyemang and another guest. Interesting that we're discussing, after Ghana's exit as well. Now, Nana, we've had loads and loads of conversations ahead of this one. Simple question I'd want to place to you, and this is one I would ask everybody else who'll be on the discussion panel today. Is it something that we probably should have expected, we shouldn't be surprised about it, or it is as a result of our inability to take advantage of the situation and push?
Yeah, it's unfortunately it's the latter. We're unable to take advantage of it and push. The challenge, it's multifaceted. It goes beyond just saying, oh, this player shouldn't be on, another player should be on, or stuff like that. It's the roots of it, are centralized in Ghana's local football. That's where it's all centralized. That is where we've got it wrong. Today we can come and say we'll change the coach. It doesn't matter. We'll still have those underlying problems that we're having and experiencing right now. There's a perception, for example, that some players that played are there because their godfathers are in prominent positions in the GFA. It's a perception. I don't know if it's true. I don't have any means of substantiating it. And that's why I say it's a perception. You see, but the issue with that perception is that somehow it plays itself out. And what that means is that the Republic of Ghana suffers because of the self-interest of a band of merry men, perhaps. Do you understand? And that's why we can't seem to overcome some seriously simple little hurdles. But if you look at the Morocco and you look at some other countries, the development that they have for their national teams, and if you compare it to what we have in Pram, it's a joke. It's a joke. You can't expect to reap from something you've not sowed. I believe we were going to go through. I really believed. I came on your platform and said that we would score about 3-1 in your morning show, 3-0. And I really meant it because I'd watched the way how the Uruguayans played. They hadn't scored a goal. Their distribution rate was almost the same as ours. You know, the attack, the accurate crosses, etc., etc. But, you know, we had goals at hand. And I saw it that the way we set things out in the South Korean game was to win. But the way we set things out in the Portugal game, we set ourselves up to fail. And that's what we did in the Uruguay game. We set ourselves up to fail. We lost that match from the line out. And it was because Gideon Mensah wasn't there, Tariq Lamptey was not there, that we had nothing to offer along the flanks. We were there to absorb the tough, the physically combative Siedu. When he goes in, it's crunch, and more time it can be a caution and a free kick to the opposition, which is what we don't want. But he was put there to try and stifle the opposition's attack. Baba was put on the left. We couldn't. When we were in possession, we had nothing to offer to support an Inaki Williams who we still haven't connected with yet. The team hasn't connected to Inaki Williams. That's why it looks as if he can't play football. Nobody can give him a proper pass. And he can't position himself in a way in which accommodates the way we're kind of like playing. So it just looks like, what a combination. But we set the whole thing up to fail. And that's what we did yesterday. And that's why we failed. But it's not just an issue of having a coach who could only focus on us on a part-time basis. Because I've said on your platform that I don't know of any country, of any football association or federation that would employ a coach on a part-time basis for the senior national team of that country. I really don't know of any. And so his focus has been on his full-time job, and this be like, this will really do on the side. Because you got your full-time job, you probably do something on the side. Don't get me wrong. I'm not implicating you on anything. You might have something on the side, but it's what you give little or no attention to more time. You might revisit it, after the second or the third day. It's not a priority. And I don't know of countries that do that. And I complained about that in the beginning, even though I was happy that he got the job because he's a Ghanaian, right? But it seems a lot has got wrong in between having the job and being able to function in the job. And it has spilled out in our inability to qualify for the round of 16, which is sad. But the real challenges are much more deep-seated than that.
Well, you're still here on the Joy Sports Link on Joy 99.7 FM. Nana Jumain, my guest, Christabel Dazi, who is still in Qatar, is my guest as well. Joining us shortly will be Coach Christopher Nimley. And of course, we'll also be having one of our tournament correspondents, Muftau Nabila Abdullah, who's also there in Qatar, to tell us what the arrangement will be going forward. We sure do know that the next news conference that will be hosted by the Black Stars will sure not have an Otto Addo element because of the announcement of his resignation. But let me just tell you about some other thing that's wrapping up. I mean, the Black Stars have closed down their campaign at the FIFA World Cup. Another thing that's closing down that's very interesting that you need to take advantage of is that at least 25 to up to 60% is off everything at the closing down sale at game stores. This includes 40% off laptops and accessories, up to 50% off health and sports equipment, and up to 60% off furniture. Everything must go, so just hurry. Don't miss this closing down sale at Game. Tobacco and baby formula are excluded from the sale, and all liquor is now 15% off. Just visit gamestores.com.gh to find your nearest store. You've got Game. Let's come to you, Christabel. Let's talk a bit more about last night's game, and tell me from your perspective as a fan and the kinds of reactions you had around you in the stands, how the moments went. Nana says that we didn't take advantage of what we had before us because obviously Uruguay was our easiest game. What do you also think?
So, Nathaniel, there was a lot going on. First of all, Uruguay came to win. Let's start from there. The stadium was blue. The entire stadium. The first two games had the Black Stars, the supporters all over the place. Ghana, red, gold, green, all over. We were loud. We were singing. We got the, support from everybody else as well for being there. This one was a little strange. We were there, but we weren't as many. And let's be honest, we were also tired. It's been a long week. So you could even tell from the first few games when we're going in on the bus, we're Shin Jama, all the way to the plane to getting to the stadium. This time people were, visibly tired, but that's beside the point. We get in and it's all blue. Uruguay is on fire in terms of their fans. Like it was almost scary, to be honest with you. So that psychology alone, I think, was one. They came, right? And if we could rewind the world, if there was a way, we all know this game had a huge psychology to it. So we should have also focused in on the psyche. And I don't think we did as well on that. So if we're looking at the future, and I agree with everything Nana has said about it's more than one or two players, it's more than a coach, it's the entire value chain of our football. What are we investing in? What are the systems? What do we want to see? And how long will it take? And allow ourselves to take the time. But back to yesterday, look, Nathaniel, I couldn't watch the penalty. I was in my Dede t-shirt, my Dede jersey. I turned around and my number 10 was facing the field. I couldn't watch it. So if I couldn't watch it, imagine somebody who was there in 2010, it all flashing back to him. Suarez is standing right there. If you ask me, if I were the coach, I would not have played Dede yesterday. That's just how I feel. I think bringing on people who didn't have the pain of that particular day could have been easier. And we saw it in the second half. What was it, like 15 minutes? We almost scored like 7 times, with that different team, sure, because they didn't have the baggage. It's a fact. There's also the fact that sadly,
and Christabel, you're raising a very important point because, there's a little screenshot. I actually have it in my gallery on my phone where Dede has this very stern look that he's giving Suarez as they were exchanging the pennants, during the pre-match formalities.
So it's painful. It was painful for me, and I wasn't even in a stadium in 2010. And all of us Ghanaians really hyped this. The media hyped it. Everybody hyped it. So this was for Dede to save. But that's a lot to put on one person. Football is a team sport. It should be for the entire team to save. And
he's a professional, Christy. They're all professionals. It's not
without a doubt. I agree with you.
It's not too much to put on any player's shoulder. They go out there willingly to bear that responsibility and to acclaim fame if it all goes right, and to be criticized constructively when it all goes wrong. They are paid hundreds of thousands. They all got 100,000 to appear, Some players didn't even.
Nana, I don't disagree with you at all, but I'm also looking at it as it's a two-way thing, as you said. Now, if Dede scored, he would be a national hero. What I worry about from a fan perspective is what I saw in the stadium, which is as soon as that penalty didn't go through, people were yelling like words that I'm not going to say on television. We just switched, and that switch is what bothers me. It's like, can we see it through? When did the penalty happen? I don't remember now, but it was like what, 15 minutes? It was still very early in the game. We could have kept going. Look, it's so funny. The entire time I was saying, but all our games have been 3-2. So why are you guys so like bitter at halftime when it's 2-0? We have 3 more goals to go. So I don't claim any technical expertise in football to the level that you and others have. It's a job, and a job needs to be done well. And yes, they failed yesterday, but I take it from a perspective of empathy to say, look, that was a lot of pressure. And maybe we could have reduced that pressure for somebody who didn't have that element of pressure. I didn't want a penalty, if I'm just being honest with you. As soon as I heard penalty, I was like, no way, we can't do this again, right? It happened. It is what it is. We were sad, but look, maybe I'm just too optimistic in life, but that team that I saw in Qatar, AFCON is coming. Imagine if we had a year with them before, because this was all pieced together very quickly, as you guys know. I think that what we need is consistency as a nation, because we're very quick to make quick fixes and then try another quick fix and another quick fix. But it's also, Nana, what you said earlier, which is that our GFA, if we're going to say it like it is, needs to allow the coaches to do their job. I'm sitting in the audience, I'm piecing together some of what I saw, and I question whether all these selections were done 100% by the coach. Now, as to whether Otto will say his mind or not is beside the point, but we can speculate. And sadly, perception is reality. So as a country, we just need to figure this out. That being said, as fans, gosh, let's give, let's raise the flag till the last whistle. We didn't do that yesterday. Even the supporters union, they stopped singing, people. Like,
yeah, I
noticed,
and this is not the first time it happened, okay? But
already?
Yeah, but Christabel, you raised a very important point. You, as an individual, decided to see all of it, the penalty miss, from a point of view of empathy, considering the kind of story that follows all of this, or the kind of story around all of this. Now, what is your reaction? And I'm going to ask Nana the same thing, because he's talked about how this is your game, you signed up for it, therefore, when the glory comes, you bask in it, and when, the trouble comes as well, you open up wide and take all of it. Now, how do you view all the trolling, the the taunts, every other thing that has followed this penalty miss? Right. And I'm personally, I'm just going through what I see on Twitter, on Facebook, on Instagram, and all of that, and I'm thinking, hey guys, we've all lost out. We're out of the tournament, and everybody's just acting all carefree. Meanwhile, at kickoff time, our streets were all empty. Everybody was trying to get access to watching this game.
Mm-hmm. And when we won, we were all over the place with Korea. Like, how did we switch so quickly? Can we see ourselves through? And Nathaniel, the word you used is exactly, I'm sure you see my Facebook post, is empathy. When I feel at work, I don't get people calling me an idiot and words like that. I really don't. It's for me, it's a tough one, right? If anybody's beating himself, it's Dede. Dede was carrying the country. He knows it, and he wanted to score. He didn't. He made a mistake. Fact. He should be criticized for it. Fact. But can we find some empathy somewhere in here and know that the first person who wanted to win that penalty was the person standing in front of it? And that's why I'm talking about this whole issue of the psychology. Look, I look at it this way. He took leadership. He knew it'd be tough, and he did it. And if you watch, and then I think you agree with me on this particular point, he questioned himself. It was like he was going to do something and he changed it. I don't know if he thought the keeper had read him and so he wanted to change his tactic, but that's what got him, right? So again, look, we lost. Could we have gone further? Yes. I really had hope, like I had hope a while ago. We've always had, but it happened. And I think that we should be a little bit circumspect on the trolling. I really think so. We live to fight another day, as they say, and that should be our attitude.
Yeah, optimist extraordinaire, Christabel Dazi, my guest here on the Joy Sports Link, and she's there in Qatar. She traveled to go watch the fans, and so the composition of our guest today is pretty simple. Just trying to represent all aspects and trying to figure all of this out from the lenses of all those people who make up the bigger picture. I'll be coming back to Nanajiman for his reaction on how we sometimes treat, these issues. I mean, it's been 10 years. People are still talking about Asamoah Gyan. There are those who are saying, well, this will be relief for him. I don't know about that, but I'll be picking your thoughts, Nana. Later on as well, we'll be joined by former assistant coach of the Black Stars, Maxwell Konedu, who is one of our pundits on our live match broadcast on the Joy Prime channel. He was there in Brazil, played the role of assistant coach to Coach Kwesi Appiah, and he also has thoughts on this particular subject. But let me share some messages with you as we go along. Mr. Johan Amorin is a seasoned architect. He's a regular listener to this show, and he says, "Good afternoon, boss. As you proceed with the program this afternoon, this is some food for thought. AFCON was a disaster, following which we put together a new team altogether. I think we should look at the current Stars team as an opportunity to rebuild the team after the disappointment. We have a young team that is playing together for the first time. Well, with time, they will become unstoppable." Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Amorin, for sending that message. Kwame Dansoman says, "Good afternoon, Apsu. Now, if a player is not performing and is underperforming or not performing in a match, or in a tournament, our coaches shouldn't delay in substituting them or benching them, as we say. And I was surprised how Elisha Owusu and Kamal Sowa didn't even get a minute at the World Cup, while Partey and Naki, Dede, Jordan were struggling in matches at the tournament." Okay, thank you very much. Kwame sends this one from Dan Suman. Okay, so keep the messages coming. I would be glad to share some of them with you. Now, another regular face on television with us in terms of analysis is Ni Aite Tete. Ni Aite Tete is is into football developmental football, and he also is a property consultant, also has a finance background, and is a wasted football talent. I'll always keep saying that. Ni Aite Tete. A wasted football talent. Christabel, you should see this guy play on some of our AstroTurf pitches. These corporate friends come together.
I know he's one of my best friends. I know, and I agree.
Ethiopia.
That's my Ethiopia buddy.
When we're looking for goals to
we
score,
love the Black Stars today.
Black Stars till we die.
Okay, Ni. Let's have your thoughts,
please,
Ni. Yeah.
I'm divorcing. I'm signing the divorce papers.
Why?
Charlie, the heartbreaks are too many.
Okay.
And this was self-inflicted. It's interesting hearing Christabel. I think she's made very valuable points. We were chatting yesterday after the game, and I think she mentioned that there are lessons to be learned. And then I was like, Charlie, which lessons again? I mean, we've been learning lessons from one tournament after another. This is like, what? Where was what? AFCON 19 last, and then this year's AFCON, which was the worst ever in our history. And for me, in as much as the issues are multifaceted, there's a danger that we might be missing what the main issue is, which for me is that and this is really the reason why I didn't go to Qatar. A lot of my friends and people who know I'm neck deep into football are like, why are you in Ghana? What are you doing here? We expect you to be in Qatar. But I kind of saw this coming. And the reason is simple. You don't go to a tournament and build a team in the middle of the tournament. Nobody does this anywhere. I mean, any team that goes and achieves some level of success in any tournament would have gone through a whole process. And this team is literally, I mean, by a few members who've been around for years, we have a lot of new players in the team. And what hurts me was that, okay, you, Otto Addo, in the first place, and I'll get to Otto Addo later, but let me just stick to the issue of team building. You get the opportunity to coach this team, and you bring in a lot of new players. What do you do? In as much as you don't have time, you get the opportunity to play a few friendly matches, but instead of picking your first 11 and sticking to it, you keep chopping and changing. We had an opportunity to play Brazil, Nicaragua, and Switzerland. 3 matches. I mean, any proper team building effort takes a minimum about 2 to 4 years. Granted, but you didn't get that. This is what you have. You have a few friendly games. What do? Fill the first 11, get them the opportunity, give them the opportunity so that they can know that the year we got the opportunity to play Brazil, he rather started players who you and I know we're not going to start when it comes to the crunch. And then he did the same against Nicaragua, did the same against Switzerland. And then even in the tournament where you would have thought that, okay, so we have a winning team versus Korea, and as much as the Korea game was difficult, you have a winning team. He goes again to chop and change the team against Uruguay. I'm not surprised, really, because this is a man who hasn't really coached any team before. I mean, we go around saying he's a trainer scout, he's a trainer scout. A lot of people like to throw with that. I wouldn't even go on that tangent. But if you have the opportunity to coach your national team, take it. And I don't think he took it. First and foremost, I don't even think he had Ghana on his mind like 24/7. That's what coaches do. Nana Jima mentioned. Which serious country in this world appoints a part-time national coach? It's not done anywhere. Okay, but we've given you the job. So make the best out of it. But no, that's not what we saw. He kept chopping and changing. You get a team that beats Korea. You build some winning momentum. Why don't you keep to it? He still goes to chop and change. And then our mental approach to this specific game was absolutely wrong. I put on my status the other day, I really don't like this revenge team. So I don't know if there were any team psychologists attached to the team who prepared the minds of the players, because the whole Uruguay, let's go revenge was wrong. And that is why I was telling Christopher, as soon as we got the penalty, I was like, I don't know if I like this. I don't know if I like the fact that we got a penalty, because there's always that small chance for you to miss. And the day I don't know what the records or the data is. The day who's never missed, then I can be corrected on that.
Never missed a penalty for the Black Stars. Never. Yeah. He's never missed a penalty for the Black Stars.
But as soon as we got, I'm like, with all that will be going through the day's head, I really don't know if this penalty is a good idea. And that's exactly what happened. As soon as he missed, I knew the average Ghanaian's mentality, and it just dropped and it affected the team. So that's one side. Otto Addo and his bad selections. Nobody can convince me. You know I run JFC. Nobody can convince me that Baba Rahman should be a Black Stars player. I mean, take him, even add him to the squad. But how is it that Baba Rahman? Gideon Mensah played in the previous game. So what was the rationale behind dropping him? This is what Otto Addo has been doing. Chopping and changing. He's a man who is it's a sign of a man who doesn't know his team or doesn't have a plan and doesn't know what to do. And that's what hurts me. Like, this is the Ghana Black Stars. Give it to somebody who's experienced. Why do we keep doing this to ourselves? From Kwesi Appiah and then we gave the team to Milo, who had lost touch with football. Like, why can't we invest? If we invest so much money, millions of dollars, $7 million this tournament, $8 million this one, why can't we just invest in a coach who is worth the Black Stars? Why can't we do it? Even for this set of coaches, we had a Chris Putin. He's experienced. He's been there. He's been on the touchline for big games in the Premier League. Why can't we just give the Black Stars? I'm not saying as soon as you give the Black Stars to a top level coach, it's a surety or a guarantee for success. But let's at least try and give it to somebody who has been there, who can make solid decisions. I cannot, like, you all saw the inputs of Kamal Adin when he came on. How has Kamal Adin been sitting on the bench for all these games? It doesn't make sense. Like I said, in as far as the time was short, you still had the opportunity to build some form of tactical and social cohesion. He didn't do it because he doesn't. I don't want to say he doesn't care, but he's not invested in the job. Bottom line. And I have so many other things to say. I mean, these are some of the low-hanging issues and macro issues. There's a bigger issue of building a team, which I said, you build a team 2 to 4 years, and then you can expect something from them. And we used to build some of the teams. Yet it's no accident that in 2006 and in 2010 we had great teams because they had foundations in the under 20 teams. The 2002 under 20 team, Argentina, if I remember, was the foundation for the 2016. 2009, the days team was also the foundation for the team that went to Angola and then transitioned into 2010. And we stopped focusing on youth football development. What do we expect? Rather, we go around the world chasing players who were born here, who were born there. And you see, in as much as we got some good players, it didn't gel. It's too early. But even that, granted, we still have these players. Why didn't Otto Addo build a team by giving them the opportunity to play together as a first 11? I don't know. I'll just give the opportunity to others to also talk, and then we'll continue.
All right. Also, it's very important to note that Andre Dede Ayew's 7-year-old daughter, apparently collapsed, and this was around the time when the penalty was struck. So Dede had to go straight to the hospital. I have a picture of him carrying the little girl. One of my colleagues here at Joy Sports confirms that she is okay. Now, when we go over to Qatar to speak to tournament correspondent Muftau Nabila Abdullah, will also be checking on that situation with Andre Dede Ayew's daughter to know, how well she's doing. Recovery wise, but so far I think she's just about okay. But let me just remind all of you that there is a 25 to 60% of everything sale at the closing down sale at Game Store. So it includes up to 40% off laptops and accessories, up to 50% of health and sports equipment, and up to 60% off furniture as well. So everything must go, Just hurry and don't miss the closing down sale at Game. But remember that tobacco and baby formula is excluded from the sale. All liquor is 15% off. Just visit gamestores.com.gh and find your nearest store. You've got Game. So, gentlemen, lady, we had it in our hands, and you've raised the issue about a psychologist. Now, in the build-up to the World Cup, I had a chain of interviews which we put on our platforms on the Joy Prime channel and on JoyNews as well. It's called the Joy Sports World Cup Tales. The first person who did, the second person, the second personality was, Dr. Yao Infojo, who is a psychiatrist. He played the role of psychologist for the Black Stars at the first appearance in 2006. He'll be joining us later on, in the show, because when the list of persons within our backroom staff came, I didn't see any any psychologist role. I don't know what happened, but then we're going to get that confirmation as well from from our correspondent again, whether maybe midway through a certain arrangement was made. But as far as we're concerned, the certified list of persons who make up the technical staff and the backroom staff do not have a psychologist for the Black Stars at the FIFA World Cup. That is what we know for now. It has something to do with it, and I'll give this to you, Nana. It definitely has something to do with it, especially when you had situations like, a penalty situation reoccurring after so many years. Clearly, we needed to have a psychologist because football is a full operation, and we didn't seem to appreciate that.
Well, thanks. I think it goes beyond having a psychologist because of a penalty we missed 12 years ago. Majority of those players, it's their first time at the World Cup. So the type of chemistry and the connection, the bonding we're supposed to have in the first place is not there, especially because of the duration of time that is available to put something together and say that that's a team. So in the first instance, we should have had a psychologist because it's all about the mentality and it's the mental fortitude of a team and the bonding that is there within a team that lets them play beautiful football. Let's say that, like the Brazilians, for example, there's something they feel together. Do you understand? Everyone is for each other, and it's a bit different here because no matter how we sing the Jama and we're clapping and playing our instruments together, that connection isn't really there. There's the way we connect is competitively. I'm the vice captain, but I'm competing against the captain because I want the captain's position. It's this type of thing. And once again, it's a perception, but it's born out of things that have happened. Players getting injured just as they've been called up, players getting injured while they're in the camp of the Black Stars, and then they can't play. And, we call it African magic. You know this. So, the bond and everything that is supposed to be there wasn't there. And what we needed to facilitate it was a professional called a psychologist that will help us, get everybody together in one mind. Because, we can sing the same songs and clap and chant together. But when we go out there, is that telepathy there? Is the connection still switched on? Because, let's say when we conceded those goals, the entire team was switched off. The entire team was switched off for about 2 minutes. 2 minutes in the Portugal game, 3 minutes in the South Korean game, and about perhaps 3 or 4 minutes in the last match. The team just totally switched off. It was there, but it's as if the battery in the remote control had just died. So they were just there. And then bang, bang, and the goals came. The telepathy isn't there. The connection isn't there. And the reason why the connection isn't there is because they're aware of the underlying problems that I spoke about in the beginning. The administration and the whole way that Ghana football is run. Because look, there are players there that know, for example, just in the same way that we're debating, that certain players have no reason to be there before other players who are performing very well in their league. The players know this. They know this, and some of them are friends with those players. Some of them are quite close to those players. And then it leads to an uncomfortable situation between them and the player they believe shouldn't be there. But not necessarily born out of an emotional-based conclusion, but the stats are there that we can all see who is performing, who has form. And the problem starts when we don't apply or we don't have a selection criteria to apply. Because look, you look at this squad, you're speaking of Kamaldeen, but Schlupp was left for non-footballing reasoning. So was Joseph Painstill. Pete, who's been scoring his goals, was left. And Majid Ashimira, who's a serious influence in the middle of the park in his club, was also left. What was the criteria you used? So there's lots of different reasons why we would need a psychologist straight away, because the issue of bonding, and then there was the issue of players also knowing that perhaps their friend should have been there when someone else shouldn't have been there because of the form and this and that and blah, blah, blah. If you look at the Jammers, let me show you something about the Jammer. I've seen quite a few of the Jammer. Barnier was leading the Jammer. Where were the IUs? They were right at the back when normally they're up there. They are right up there in the front. This time, they're right at the back. Why? Because that's not how I've known it to be. Something is happening, but we don't know what it is. But, there's no psychologist there anyway, because, we're not taking that aspect of it too seriously. We don't really understand what psychology is all about. And it's reflected, this is just a microcosm, because we don't have a good enough health service, mental health service, that deals with mental health challenges. And it's just the same in the football. We don't take it serious overall as a society, and we don't think it's serious in terms of football as a national endeavor.
Well, let me share with you an ongoing news briefing, and this is coming from Otto Addo. So our team is there. I'll be sharing with you some very key quotes from the news briefing. Now, so this is one of them, and I quote: it has, and this is on the subject of his resignation. Now, Otto Addo says, and I quote, "It has nothing to do with the outcome, of the result. It would have ended if we were world champions. I have to respect the contract. I have to respect the club I'm working for. Sure, maybe one day I will get the chance to work with the GFA again, but for the next 2.5 years, I have a contract with Dortmund, and I have to respect that," unquote. So this is what he said about resigning. And then this is the advice that Coach Otto Addo has for the incoming coach, or who will be the next coach. And I quote, "Should be himself and fulfill his ideas no matter who come between, but should listen to his coaching staff, take advice, and if there is anything I can do to help, I am always there. I will give advice and help my motherland. He should not listen to negativity too much and be fearless," unquote. So this is what he said about the possibility, an incoming coach or his predecessors. Now, he's also calling for patience for the current squad. Now, this is what he says, and I quote, "I said we all have to change our mentality and support a little bit more, especially for a young team like this, which can surely win the AFCON. But sometimes things take time to integrate and to develop. I would like you to let them work in peace, grow in peace, and develop in peace." Okay. So these are some of the quotes, and these are some of the issues, that have been raised. These are some of the things that Coach Otto Addo has said at the news briefing, which is ongoing. So I just shared with you some of the quotes. Joining us here in the studio is Coach Christopher Nimley, who's a UEFA License B, is a seasoned football pundit, and has been one of our very brilliant guests on our Match Day live broadcast on the Joy Prime channel, and is normally the man on our tactical board explaining tactics and all of that. Coach Otto Addo is also said to be a man of tactics. In fact, in one of the interviews ahead of the World Cup, in the Joy Sports World Cup Tales, which I host, Dr. Randy Abe, an executive council member, said that Otto Addo is somebody who's very much focused on tactics. I mean, anytime you're with him on a flight, he's reading books about tactics. He's listening to, audio books about tactics. It's all tactics, and tactics. But, well, I don't know if it all came to play here. Coach, thank you for your time here.
It's always a pleasure, my brother.
Yeah. Say that again.
It's always a pleasure.
Great. Good to see you. Good to see you. We've been talking about a range of issues. Christabel, a fan, Ni Aite, a football promoter and a fan, and a pundit as well. Coach, who's a coach and a pundit as well. Everybody talks about how this is a young team and how they really expected these kinds of things to happen, especially because we're a team in transition. Yeah. And they've also spoken about the reactions of the fans, how the fans behaved when we were down, and all of that. When you look back at yesterday and everything that happened, what are the key things that now strike you regarding where we are at the moment and the kind of reality that the performance put before all of us?
Nat, I've been listening to the show, and I must say that all your guests have all given brilliant submission. We may not be able to solve our problem if we don't tackle the root cause of the problem. Yes, this team had lots of potential. They still do. Going to the future, I've already said that the next coach should not tamper with them. Rather, if there are 1 or 2 or 3 who are out there who clearly should have been part of the setup, he should look out and try and bring those people or those players back into the fold. This is our problem. Until administrators, people who are not coaches, but who have been put in charge of the running of our game, will accept and restrict themselves to their roles and stay away from technical issues. These are Black Stars. If you leave it to the technical men, beyond the sky will be our limit. You see what Otto Addo said? You have to be yourself and be your own man. The very day the football president, Mr. Keto sat in the studios, I think, of Joy Prime with Gary Yao Smith here, Joy, this very studio. And he told the whole country that under his reign as Ghana Football Association president, nobody, no technical team will be allowed to do or to select players into the team without that selection passing through him. In fact, I am very well informed that there was moment under Coach Sika Kono where Keto personally took a pen and cancelled the names of players on the list that the head coach, together with his technical team, believed should be the players to be called into the national team. Sika Kono just attested to that some few weeks ago.
Yes, and that was also on our platform with
today.
With him. Yes,
look, today I've already wept as if I didn't weep that much yesterday. Today I have listened to an audio that clearly pointed to the fact that Otto Addo would have taken Joseph Pencil to the World Cup. Otto Addo would have taken Jeffrey Schlupp to the World Cup.
I see.
I'm telling you, I pleaded and pleaded and pleaded with the person to hand me, to give the video to me. He won't give it to me because he asked me, if you give it to me, Ghanaians will get to know about it. I said I listened to the audio conversation.
Now, who were the persons? Did you know the voices of the people in
the
this
voices?
video?
It was Otto Addo talking to Joseph Pencil. I listened to the audio.
I see.
And Otto Addo virtually wept. He said, "Look, if I am the one solely in charge, there's no way I will not take you to the World Cup. Because on current form, you should be at the Mondial." But hang in there. You remember when he said hang in there, he didn't tell why. But my own investigation, you remember going to the tournament, Kamadin fitness wasn't that good.
Yeah.
So my own simple conclusion is the fact that maybe they were waiting on Kamadin. So you have an FA president who is so bent on making sure that if you do not belong to his camp, you never be part of this. Look, I asked somebody very close to the FA, and I asked him, if Joseph Pencil was part of the players you people manage, would you take him to the World Cup or not? I never got an answer. So because the person went mute, I clearly got the answer I wanted. Because it has to be a strict, direct answer. He goes to the World Cup. So before we begin to move forward, it is time we tell our administrators that you've got your role. Stay away.
I'm going to ask you another one before we get reactions from the rest of our guests on this one. Now, so these are things that have popped up, in the course of time. I do remember that when I had an interview with Coach Kwesi Appiah ahead of the unveiling and the launch of his book, Leaders Do Not Have to Yell, he said that when Kwesi Nyantakyi was president of the FA, Kwesi Nyantakyi never influenced selections. He said it to me, in an interview. Now, this just looks like it is something would have to deal with. You are bringing us evidence that you have, and you say that you're ready to speak to this anywhere on any platform.
Yeah. And the earlier we begin to deal with that, the better. Getting out of the way. Because my senior here will tell you that how do you get a coach working freely when constantly there are interference from those management members. It has to stop. It has to stop. And I think the only way we can get this thing sorted out is when I think we get people who do not have football teams manage our team. Or when I say manage our team, run our football in this country.
But coach, you see, that one also is this is a major hurdle we'll have to cross, because the football family would have to come together. You do remember that conversations about the composition of the FA have come up.
Exactly.
That the administration of the FA and all of that. But within our current statutes and all of that, you'd have to be affiliated to a football team to be able to get the opportunity to put yourself up for election. It's standard. So the football family now have to go to Congress and
change that. You see, there would have been no problem with that if our people are ready to be honest and sincere. Look, as I sit here today, if I'm not in charge of a football team and I'm running the FA or I'm running Ghana football, whether whoever plays for the Black Stars shouldn't be my concern. For as long as the technical team deem it fit that at this current moment these are the best players who should be in our team, so be it. So be it. But we keep making these mistakes over and over. Look, let it go out there. This is legendary. Akwesi Appiah rightly true. We all experienced Akwesi Nyantakyi for close to 13 years. I have been very close to the Black Stars. Never have I suspected that Akwesi, in doing his time, influenced player selection. Even if he did, he will never come out. But if you look at the demeanor, the mood, the arrogance with which Ketu Kreku can sit on national television and tell everybody that even when he is sick, he will make sure he chooses somebody who will go into that final meeting and point out his views. And for me, we just cannot allow that to happen. That, in my view, is the beginning of the solution to the problem. If we can get them to stay in, see, why do they want to trespass? Why are they trespassing? In life, if you move ahead of time, you end up getting nowhere. If you move ahead of time, nobody moves ahead of time. You end up getting nowhere. So we need to get that thing sorted out. We need to get it sorted. Once we get it sorted out, yesterday, for example, I have been on several platforms. I have sat with you on air, off air. I've told you that the day we decided to give the coaching job to Otto Addo, that was the day we threw the World Cup away. That's not to say we're going to win the World Cup, but we're going to the tournament with a very inexperienced team, and we decided to hand over our destiny to an inexperienced manager. Who does that? At least one thing that should have been fundamental is the fact that these boys needed proper direction. How do you direct them? You direct them if you have an experienced man in charge.
All right, now, Coach Chris, I do understand where you're coming from, but of course, we also have to place this within the context of, the economic situation in the country. How much these coaches are going to cost us. Do remember that there was a short list. We had names come up, and some of them we couldn't pay. That included good old Hervé Renard, who led Saudi to get that very big result against Argentina in the tournament.
It's about we setting our priorities.
Get that big result.
Yes, it's about we setting our priorities right. The minister walks to Parliament. He said, as part of disbursement of our money, the budget, we were to spend money on hospitalities. Who were those people who were hosting there? You and I were told that corporate Ghana were going to take care of our supporters. So who were those people we were hosting at the Mondial? Do you know how much money we've spent on them?
Not yet.
Didn't we just see that even people who we have voted for, who should be in Parliament, debating on the budget, the next financial budget of this country for the next 12 months, we're all in Qatar taking selfies and very proud putting the selfies out there. We saw them. Who hosted them? Is it at the expense of the taxpayer? Our money? The minister, when he returns to Ghana, should be immediately summoned to Parliament and get him to tell us the breakdown of the hospitality that we're giving to certain people. Who are we hosting? Because you and I know that when it comes to our team, FIFA, where we will sleep, what to eat, our transportation, everything, FIFA catered for. That is why FIFA will give you 24 hours. You have within 24 hours to leave the moment you are eliminated from. So we are all expecting our blasters latest by tomorrow morning. They should come. They cannot stay beyond today. So they'll leave the place today and get to Ghana somewhere tomorrow. It's because of the, if you stay beyond that, you pay the rest of the money. So who are those? So if you can spend on hospitality, people who go there and don't even know how to support, they rather be very comfortable taking selfies. Ministers, parliamentarians taking selfies and send it to the people of this country. We better invest in the top-notch coach. The era where we're paying $50,000 for coaches are long gone. If we say we really want to stick to our own, then we should really look at Senegal. Look at what they've done. The FA, they've believed in Cisse. When Cisse took over the job, it didn't go down well with anybody, with almost everybody. He struggled at the beginning, but the FA had a plan. What is our plan? We don't have a plan. Don't be surprised that the $9 million that we have gotten from this World Cup will have nothing tangible to show for it. And at the end of the day, we will come back to square one. We will talk and rant, and the decision makers will show no care, no sense of responsibility, nothing of the sort. And we will come back to cost 90, square one, 0, and we'll come and start all over again. Why do we keep repeating this? It's like a cycle that keeps repeating itself. Every now and then, for every major tournament, we come back, we say the same thing. Yet still people who have been put in charge of our money will not change the attitude and the way they go about doing things. They are so selfish. And it's only about them. It's only about them. One of your panelists spoke about grassroots football. You know me. I'm into grassroots. Do you know where I picked Laurent Atizegi from? When they brought me Ati,
tell us that story.
Ati was 8 years old. Between 8 and 9 years old. His father was a goalkeeper. His uncle, goalkeeper. So the talent is within the family. I picked this young boy from nowhere at Adabrakaye Methodist Park, Argentinos Genius, a team owned by Mr. Kobna Japon, the MPP man. I took the boy, groom him. When I was about leaving to go and do my masters in the States, I personally used my relationship with Sanzio Bana, the then director of Red Bull Academy in Sugakope. I imposed Ati on Sanzio. I told Sanzio that the talent of this boy, if I leave and not position this boy, by the time I come back to Ghana, this boy will be finished. Today, we have benefited, or Ghana is reaping. The time has come for us to begin to, as a nation, invest in our football and our sporting talent. We should begin to do that. You shouldn't be relying on individuals like me to be going gallivanting all over the country and unearthing talent at my expense for the country. That is not the way it is done elsewhere. If you go to Europe, it is not done like that. We have to change. How do we change? It's for those people who are being given the task to run our football. They have to know how to go about this. You don't take up, or you don't take custody of money, and the only thing you think about is how quick to disburse the money so that you get your fair share. You don't do that. We've gone to the World Cup in 2006, 2010, 2014. This is our fourth thing. There is no tangible that we can say is as being one of
the legacy
of the World Cup to this country. Who does that? So we are going to start another World Cup cycle again. We'll be going through the same thing, and people will get in. Look, what is the role of the management committee?
All right, now
it's all about sharing honorarium.
Okay,
nothing else. I really don't see what they do.
Okay, I'll come back to that point. It's a very important point. Now, once again, I'll refer to the Joy Sports World Cup tales. The very first, interview that we played on Joy News and on Joy Prime featured former FA Vice President Mr. Fred Papo. Now, Mr. Fred Papo, at the time, remember, was the first management committee chairman to ensure, be part of the qualification, to Germany 2006.
Exactly.
And he said to me that running the program of the Black Stars, and this is, I mean, of course, if I knew this was coming up, I would have ensured that our producers got the audio so that we could play it back. But it's there; we can always refer to it. Now, running the Black Stars and their program for every year is a whole operation on its own. Therefore, it becomes an extra burden on the GFA's General Secretary or the Deputy General Secretary, because they cannot leave the running of the Secretariat and go running around checking on, venues for playing, friendlies and doing all of that, working on the calendars and all of these things, correspondence on these things and all of that. So that is the explanation that he gave me, that it becomes an extra burden. And if you don't take care, what happens then is that the work is not done qualitatively. It's not done to satisfaction. That is the explanation that Mr. Fred Papa gave.
That we should put up a 7-member management committee and
now,
8 members management committee.
Well, the other thing is that we have exceeded the number. When you look at our statutes, this current management committee has exceeded the number. And this is something we'll have to discuss.
What are they doing?
Yes.
They are all taking honorarium.
Very well. Let me take 2 quick reactions from before we do that. However, Dr. Yao Mfujo, who's the first team psychologist with the Black Stars at the World Cup, has joined the conversation. His input becomes key, especially because we never found, and Coach Nimle spoke several times during our live game broadcast on Joy Prime that you were disappointed that we did not have.
I couldn't believe
a psychologist.
I couldn't believe it.
Okay,
having been drawn with Uruguay, look at the history between we and Uruguay.
Yes.
That decision, that draw alone should have told the so-called modern football administrators that we needed a psychologist to this thing.
Okay, let's now get welcome Dr. Yao Mfujo to the conversation. He joins us from the United States, where he's currently on some business. Doc, thank you very much for your time. Good to have you here on the Joy Sports Link.
Good morning, and good morning to your listeners and viewers, please.
Very well.
And good morning, Coach.
Very well.
Good morning.
Very well. Now, Doc, when the final list of 26 players was released, it had its own reactions, and then we saw the list as well, the confirmed list of our backroom staff. And we didn't have the description or the designation of a psychologist for the team. And Coach Chris here has been talking about, this particular operation within the team and how crucial it becomes, especially because of what we encountered yesterday. What's your major reaction to that?
Thank you very much. I think that again, I've been in touch with some of the members of the management team, and they gave the impression they didn't have the need this time for whatever reason. But I think that in one of the things that all keeps coming up is almost like our lack of mental fortitude, and a lot that plays out on the field, which requires some almost input, a long-term preparation, mind building, and sorry, but it's not unique to the Black Stars. It's something that unfortunately is very much part of our system and our society. So painful, disappointing. Someone says yesterday was really, in the group, it was really relatively our easiest game. And again, there's a very interesting clip doing the rounds on WhatsApp about someone who analyzes the Argentina versus Poland game, and the Ghana versus Uruguay game, analyzes Argentina had a penalty, Ghana had a penalty. Argentina didn't score their penalty, Ghana didn't score their penalty. In the end, Argentina beat Poland by 2-0, Ghana lost Uruguay by 2-0 last game. So just without, our wounds are raw, so let's not, I don't think this is the time necessary to apportion blame extra, but we've got to go to the drawing board and really look at what resources that we need to put in place to get the best possible outcome for football games. We are quite passionate about football, and I think that this will eventually cascade and reflect back into our national culture. So that's what I'll say. Painful loss, but hey, we have to be mentally strong to overcome adversity and fight back. Yeah.
Dr. Fojo is the first psychologist to have worked with the Black Stars at the FIFA World Cup. Originally, he is a psychiatrist, and he played a role in Ghana's participation in the very first World Cup. Asamoah Gyan talks very much about his first goal that he scored and what Dr. Fojo did ahead of that game.
Yeah.
So what the interesting thing that happened was that when I interviewed Dr. Fojo, he spoke about it, and then when I interviewed Asamoah Gyan on the same show, he corroborated every other thing that Dr. Fojo said about preparing for that very first, goal that he scored, against the Czech Republic, the kinds of exercises he did, the kind of mental exercises he did, and how crucial it was. And in Asamoah Gyan's words, he said, look, I remember very well, and he even remembers so much detail. He says that at the time, I think you had a little pain in your neck, so you were wearing a collar. He said all of that. So
I'd slipped my disc at the time, so I was wearing a neck brace at the time.
Wow.
Yeah,
he said all of that to me. He said all of that. Now, let's quickly take the thoughts of Christabel. Christabel is still there in Qatar. I don't know when she's returning to Ghana. Christabel, when are you returning to Ghana anyway?
Oh, I'm almost home. It's back to regular programming. I came to watch just the Ghana games, the first round. Also, just because that's what I could afford. Let me be real.
Okay.
Very well. I'm heading home on Monday.
Very well. You have to tell us what. Yeah, Doc, you were saying something.
No, I was just saying just before I just wanted to slip something else in, just again compare situations. Our last game in 2006 and incidentally in 2010 as well was against the USA. Now, also I remember our preparation we did with Haminu Dramani, who scored the first goal against the US. Again, there was a lot of work that goes into the background in terms of building some of these things up extra. I mean, and Haminu scored the first goal against the US in Nuremberg in 2006. Of course, there was our captain, full of confidence, Apia, who took the penalty. Again, very, very similar situation as we had in yesterday's game in Uruguay. Of course, 2010. Remember in Rustenburg, Asamoah Gyan are full of. I mean, that goal he scored against the US again, that second goal. It was just sheer. It was like, I believe I can do it. I've taken this on as my personal responsibility, and of course, I mean that comes with experience, with a certain confidence that's been built over time, extra. So these are aspects of almost like soft aspects of the game beyond just having the ability and the technical skill. Look, I mean, at this level, everybody has the technical ability and skill. It is those fine additional things that make the difference in terms of who goes on and who stays behind.
All right. Now, we would be crossing over to looking at our bright spots and what we should be excited about, especially because we want to start looking at the future immediately. We'll be looking at all of that. But yesterday, and because of Dr. Fojo's contributions to this conversation, I mean, immediately after that, we saw Cameroon. Cameroon played against Brazil and beat them 1-0. Unfortunately, they couldn't go to the next stage of the competition. But I'm ready to take on anybody who tries to argue with me about Brazil putting up a second string side. Because guess what? I believe very strongly that in terms of strength, that side or that squad that Brazil put up, or that starting 11 that they put up, could be equated to any national team any day, anywhere. Anybody argue with me on that? Coach Chris?
No argument.
No argument. Thank you very much. Anyway, so let's come back to you, Christabel. You were making a point about the reactions of the fans to these kinds of situations, these conversations about the influence of selection and all of that.
So I just wanted to make a case that there's a reason that I just support the Black Stars. Everything we've said today points to the fact that our system around them doesn't allow them to prosper.
Okay.
And that's why for me, it's not been about the boys. I felt the same way, was it Brazil, when they flew money to them and everybody was on their case that they did that. And I said, no, it is our management. The fact that that even had to happen tells you that we have a broken system. Everything we're saying here today, why in today's 2022 did we not have a psychologist with the team? Why are we having this conversation after the fact? This is our nation. Everything is reactive. Can we be more proactive about how we attack things? I think one of our panelists did say, we love football and football is something we want to invest in. So let's do it right. Let's stop joking around it, right? But at the same time, the point that I've been making, that I'll keep making is, and I said this to Niaite yesterday during the game when he was really upset at halftime and Coach Addo this, that. I said, look, Ni, we have one job as fans, and that job is to support till the last whistle. So please, I don't need any negativity right now. I just want to keep supporting. We're down 2. If we all change that attitude is something, I believe. I mean, the fact that Uruguay had filled that stadium yesterday and were screaming, off the top of their heads, it does something, So from a fan's perspective, I think I have empathy for the players because they know what's going on. They know who shouldn't be there and who is there. They eat and drink from the same plate. They know it's a tough call. So let's fix our system so that we can have our Black Stars thrive, because I believe in it. But I want to take it just one step beyond. I think as a nation, it's the same lesson. We just can't be doing quick fixes. We need to look at the entire system, figure out what should be done in 2 years, what should be done in 4 and 6, and build on it. The best part of all of this is that the team we have now is filled with amazing talent, and we need to grow this talent. AFCON 23, I think it is coming up. Let's keep at it till we get there. Let's not be cutting and nipping. And if truly some of the things we're saying about the GFA is true, then let them step back and also look at themselves. Because nothing here we've said today is not known to us. I've been listening to your show for a long time, Nathaniel, and the things we're talking about, psychology, about selection of players, all of these are said every weekend. So we know it, right? We know all the right things to do. All I ask is let's just do it so that the Black Stars can be who we want them to be. Thank you.
Well, we'll be switching over to talk about the bright spots. And I'm very sure that if I go around the table now, everybody has, something positive that they noticed. I mean, the quality that Christabel just spoke about and what the new look Black Stars should be, especially going into the AFCON operation, because there's another conversation that we need to have there about the way the title has eluded us. If you are 40 years, and below, there's the likelihood that you have not lived that bliss before in this country is very, very high. And that is another conversation that needs to be had. Coach, I'm once again hinging on the African mentality. As we speak, Senegal, the African champions, have lived up to their accolade, and they're in there in the knockout phase. Morocco have also taken our blushes away and are in there. They also switched up midway through and they managed to finish well. Unfortunately, Cameroon switched up a little too late.
Yeah, I think, like you rightly said, it had to do with we coming to the realization that when the whistle is blown, you need to get on the move. In the case of Cameroon, the Cameroon we saw yesterday, if we had seen them in the previous 2 games, surely they would have qualified to the round of 16. The Black Stars we saw in that game against Korea, the Black Stars we saw in the second half of Uruguay, if we have seen that Black Stars very consistent, we would have qualified. Look, I was of the view that the minimum achievement for this team, we had what it takes to get out of this group and go face Brazil or whoever in the next round. Clearly, we could have easily achieved that if we had the right person in charge. Otto Addo established a foundation to build upon. He kept changing his selection here and there. Nobody does that unless you are home and dry. Do you think Tite would have changed his selection like he did yesterday if he had to qualify based on the match yesterday? He wouldn't have done. Although we admit that those who came in were equally good, but you need to establish some form of rhythm with your team. You don't go in, win a game, and then all of a sudden change a winning team. And again, our inability to make the bold decision, the most difficult decision. Look, Nat, let me tell you something. I have always said that Andre, the captain of this team, has given us close to 16 years of quality service. And I'm so grateful, and I know every Ghanaian is so grateful to the young man. But at this current stage, you don't treat him like he's 25, 26, 24-year-old. You don't do that. If you do that, it means you don't know what you're about. Do you think the Uruguayans are not smart? Who told you that when Luis Suarez and Edison Cavani were in their element, they started together? They were lethal as a pair.
Yeah, that's true.
But right now, how are they using them? If one person is on the pitch, the other person is on the bench. They are virtually changing one for the other. That is the smartness in the decision. Look, it nearly paid off. I think they were robbed yesterday. That Cavani ball was a clear penalty. So having said that, in going forward, we need to look at the transition of this thing very well. I said it somewhere, I'll say it here. In the immediate future, whoever takes over the Black Stars job, I think shouldn't call Andre in the immediate. I'm not saying we should retire him. No, that's not what I'm saying. Because he's still very important to the setup. But we need a transition to be done. Then we bring him in for him to feel part of the transition. Whether he likes it or not, whether those in and around him appreciate it or not, as a leader, his days are numbered in the team. Now is the time for us to use him wisely to bring the best or to get the best out of him. If we said he is our most experienced player, which I agree to, the topmost goal scorer in our team, which I agree to, when we needed him the most, we were substituting him. Did you realize that yesterday?
Yeah.
My Andre, our Andre, the big game player, the man for the moment, the man for the occasion, when we needed him, we were substituting him. Which always comes back to emphasize the point I've always been making. Use him wisely, use him smartly. Believe you me, as at when we were substituting him, if we were rather bringing him on at that moment, when the game got stretched, those chances we had, Numoyache, he would put one or two away and would have made the game even more interesting. So my view of what the forward should look like, what forward thinking our approach should look like in order to bring the Black Stars to where we want it to be, is that first and foremost, do the transition. If a player have stayed 16 years, I think this coming January will be 16 years of having Andre in our team. He's given us quality service. In the immediate future, let him stay away. Build the Kudus, build the Kamadin, build the Kamasoa, the Osman Bukari, the Fatau, the Joseph Pencil. Build them. Because it's a new generation. Those that they came to meet, all of them are gone. He's the only one left. And then use the Jordan. Still, he's got something to offer. Pate is there. He can be given the captain as a leader to undersee the transition. So that when the transition is complete, then we say, Andre, come back with your experience. In that case, do you know what he will accept? If you tell him to start from the bench, he will accept it. If you tell him that, Andre, we will only bring you in as at when we need your service, like what done to Stevie Appiah in 2010. Who told you that Tornado was very comfortable sitting on the bench to watch players like Anthony Anai and Kevin Prince Boateng run the show? But the man was made to understand that at that stage in his career, we could only use him wisely. And using him wisely was to make sure we bring him in when he was needed. We need to go back to the drawing board and draw that line clearly. If we can do that, and again, I repeat, everybody stay in your lane. Do not trespass. Keto Kreku and his people, you've got job to do. Stay in your lane. Don't trespass. Allow the technical team to do their job. Focus on youth development, juvenile football, how we can get our under 17 to be running again, our under 20 to be running again, our women's football, maidens, black. Is it most thing that people don't talk about? You know, our black queens, no, the black maidens, they only get back to proper international football in 4-6 years from now. We got banned. Have you heard anything from that? Rather, the management members who orchestrated the ban of our team are working freely. The FA, up to date, they have never released a single statement on how our under 20 team got banned from international football. We say we have people running our game. The women, what are you doing about this? You've all kept quiet on this. So in the next 5 to 6 years, our black queens is in danger. Me, as I sit here, because of my scientific approach to things, if you ask me, I know the black queens will not qualify for the next World Cup, they will not qualify for the next one, they will not qualify for the next 3 editions, because the foundation has been weakened.
It's not there. Yeah.
It has been weakened by the incompetence of certain people running our football.
Very well. Do remember that 05511119997 is our WhatsApp line. So you send a message and we'll retrieve and share with everybody else. Here with me on this big conversation about the Black Stars and the early exit from the World Cup and the way forward. Coach Christopher Nimle, who's here with me in studio. Joining us virtually are Dr. Yao Mfojo, the first psychologist to work with the Black Stars at the FIFA World Cup in 2006. Christabel Dazi is a business incubation entrepreneur and a fan, Black Stars fan who's there in Qatar. Coach Nana Ajiman is a coach and a pundit. And George Addo Jr. is one of our correspondents for the tournament. George, thank you very much for your time. Can you update us on what the situation will be, itinerary-wise for the Black Stars? And also update us on Dede Ayew's daughter, who suddenly, had a situation and had to be rushed to the hospital during the game against Uruguay. What the situation is like now, George.
Yeah, so the team, thank you very much, Nat. Good afternoon to Coach Nemedy. Good afternoon to everybody on the call, me and everyone on the call. The team had the press conference not long ago, where I had the vice president of the Ghana Football Association, Otto Addo. I think it was also Tony Obeng. There was also Coach Otto Addo and Henry Asante Chum, the communications director, did conduct the press conference.
So we don't do the WhatsApp message. We don't have a way of retrieving it in the background serving. Unless it's okay, yeah, sure.
Yeah, very well. You spoke about the news conference, those who were in attendance and all of that. Now, I want you to just quickly update us on Dede Ayew's daughter and what the situation is.
Oh yeah, at the moment the situation is under control. I spoke to Rahman Osman, and he's given an indication that everything is fine, even though there was a bit of a shock during the process whilst the game was on, but there's not so much to worry about for now. Coach Otto Addo also at the press conference just explained his stance on why he wants to leave the job now and head on to Dortmund. And the Ghana Football Association has just gone on about their official statements, apologizing to Ghanaians for everything that happened and promising to get back to winning ways very, very soon. And the indication that some of the players are going to head straight on to their clubs, and the remainder of the players will come to Ghana and then sort things out. So basically, that's where we are, and we're looking forward to see how things will be wrapped up. And once we get any more information on Dede Ayew's daughter, we're definitely going to make that available, and everybody can go through. But at the moment, there's not so much to worry about with respect to that.
Quickly, the conversations as well about Africa's campaign. The African champions Senegal are in there, and Morocco are also in there in the knockout stage.
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of hope that Senegal can push it and go all the way, even though there's a feeling that they may begin to feel the absence of Sadio Mane the longer they stay in the competition because of the kind of quality they're going to be up against, really. The first game or the round of 16 games against England, England are hoping that they can do better than they did in 2018 when they made it to the semi-final. So this will be a tough game in the round of 16 for Senegal. But they have a quite good squad. I'm only hoping that they're able to take the chances and make up for the absence of Sadio Mane. So there's a lot of confidence from the Senegalese I've spoken to and the Africans here at the competition. They are hoping that Senegal can push it through. Morocco gave a very, very good account of themselves, placed in a group that had the likes of Belgium, played so well to beat Belgium. And even in the final game, when we thought that, oh, well, yeah, things are going to be tough for Morocco. No, they were able to top a group that had super guns in there. So they have put up a fantastic performance. Raguri and the boys, Hakim Ziyech carrying his team much on. Now the big question is if they're able to do that against Spain. If they're able to do that in the round of 16, that will be the most important thing for them. So it's a special game anytime Morocco and Spain come about because of so many of the things. I mean, geographically, they share a boundary. There are lots of inflows in there. The last time I was in Morocco, I mean, it was just like an island, separating the two. I was in El Jadida. So they share a lot of things. So this should be a very interesting game as they go through it. So hopefully, Morocco can get the job done, but it won't be easy at all. It's a bigger step in the competition and a big stage. We wish them very, very well.
George, thank you so much. George Addo Jr., our tournament correspondent and our lead commentator for the Joy Sports team, reaching us from Doha in Qatar. We'll go over to the US and take final comments within the next minute from Dr. Yain Fojo about the bright spots and what he has noticed which we can build on, especially from his special operation within the football value chain. Doc, in the next minute.
Thank you very much for that. Look, the bright spots would be some of the young talent that's coming there, just the confidence and of course the experience and exposure that they've had. Some of the bright spots would also be hopefully learning from experiences from teams like Argentina. I mean, the more we go to these things, hopefully, the more we learn lessons from there. I would just like to just end a bit on a note of caution. Look, football is a passionate game. There are some very, very disturbing WhatsApp messages going on about people holding bricks, waiting for the Black Stars to stone them at the airport. Please, let's let the security agencies get onto these things and take them seriously. I mean, things are tough in Ghana, and we're all looking for an outlet. So let's keep our emotions in check.
Very well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Yain Fojo. Let me come to you, Christabel Dazi. Christabel is also there in Qatar. Christabel, your final comments in the next minute about our possible bright spots. You can mention specific names of players who, have caught your attention, who you feel are good for the future.
Kudos. I mean, even when he made a mistake, it was beautiful. He is our future. But I don't want to only single him out. Tariq Lamptey did an excellent job. Salis, I mean, we can keep going. Dede is always bringing his passion on play, and I wish he would pass that on to others, because there were also some people that I felt like didn't really give their all. Even somebody like Inaki Williams, he couldn't find his feet, but over time, I feel like, he will gel in better. So please, fans, we have one job. Let's continue to support the Black Stars. For me, it's Black Stars forever. AFCON is going to be fun. We'll go again. Let's get the system fixed and we'll get this right. So Black Stars forever, Nathan. That's what's for me, Nathaniel.
And I'm looking forward to that drive to Abidjan. You know, we're not flying, we're driving to Abidjan. Okay. Thank you very much, Cristobal Dazi. Let's go to Nana Kwekwajiman, and then after that we'll wrap up with Coach Christopher Nimley in the studio. Nana, in the next minute, your bright spots and how we can, you know, move this forward.
Well, the bright spots are the young players that we're talking about: the Soas, the Kamaldins, the Kudus, the Lampteys, the Mensahs. There are quite a few of them. Samed, you know. We've got to start building the team around them. And Coach talked about using players in a smart way, and I support that. Players always seem to find it difficult to say it's time to hang up my boots, even when it's very clear and it's so obvious. You see, what makes it difficult is that there is no system in place to guide the player through that transition, as Coach was talking about. And also, once again, you know, AFCON is coming up, and another one of the bright spots is that now we can call up Ashimeru, we can now call up Painstil, we can now call up Schlapp, we can now call up, you know, Tekpete to join the squad. And those who have to be dropped, they will just have to be dropped. Form will determine that, and not favour, because this call-up has been all about favour. It's not been about form. When it's form, you know, that there are clear guidelines to inclusion. And if we follow those guidelines to inclusion, and you have a coach who's going to be full-time and dedicated to the job with no interference, then I think we can do that.
Coach, thank you so much. Let's give the final word to you, Coach Christopher Nimley.
Yeah, I think lots of bright spot. Let's face fact. I think the entire team is a good potential for the future. The good ones or the young ones who have been introduced will have to be encouraged to continue the journey. And then go talk to some other players. Make sure somebody talks to Joseph Painstil because he's very, very young. Talk to him. Let him put the frustration of the World Cup behind him, and then bring him into the field. Jeffrey Schlupp, like head coach Riley said, and then let's see the way forward. If we can get the likes of Alfred Duncan and co to change their decision to come back into the team, because we need every excellent Ghanaian player will have to be part of the setup. And once we get the right man in charge, and the people at the FA stay away from interference, I think we should be home and dry.
Christabel, I see you smiling there. You know, Coach Chris should have added, you know, the security services to his profile. He should have just joined the military.
Absolutely. But, you know, truer words could not have been said. We need to get the system right so the boys can just do their job. Good days ahead. Good days ahead.
Good days ahead. Thank you so much, Cristobal Dazi. Thank you so much, Coach Nana Kwekwajiman. Thank you, George Addo Jr. Thank you, Dr. Yawin Fojo. And thank you, Coach Christopher Nimley.